Far down the East African coast, on this most distant link in the old trading network, there lies hidden the last of its surprises. On a long voyage southward, the traders pursued their route far beyond Zanzibar. There they approached what was once the most important and famous of all the Swahili trading cities. This was Kilwa, on an island close by the coast of modern Tanzania. It's hard to get here, for Kilwa remains quite untouched by the modern world. This is still the only means of approach to one of the most intriguing historical sites in the whole of Africa. Surprising as it must seem, up these steps some 600 years ago came visitors from all the countries of the Golden East, ambassadors, merchants, soldiers, mariners. And what they saw, spread out before them as they reached the top, was a scene, a sight of remarkable and even unique splendor. But ruin struck long ago. Rising to great commercial wealth in about the year 1200, Kilwa was once a place of comfort and urban splendor. Its royal palace, one of the grand buildings of Islamic and Swahili culture, as portrayed in this accurate archaeological reconstruction. Here was one of the high points of civilized development promoted and sustained by Africa's trading networks. Placed on the edge of the ocean skyline, Kilwa was much admired by our old traveling companion, Ibn Battuta. He came here in 1332 and remembered Kilwa as one of the most handsome towns he'd seen in all his travels. This once splendid mosque remains, even in partial ruin, a most impressive religious monument. Here on the distant fringe of the world of Islam, the African citizens of Kilwa honored their membership of that world with a taste and craftsmanship distinctively their own. Founded in the 12th century, the mosque was much enlarged in the 15th, when a patriotic citizen spent 1,000 gold dinars on improvements. Very soon after, in the year 1498, an event took place which was to lead not only to the ruin of Kilwa, but in due course to the destruction of the Swahili trading network all along the coast. In that year, for the first time in history, 3 small Portuguese ships under the command of Vasco da Gama sailed round the Cape of Good Hope and into the Indian Ocean. The European incursion had begun. Returning home, Vasco da Gama reported what he'd seen. And just 7 years later, a much larger and more menacing fleet appeared on the horizon. A German eyewitness called Hans Meyer has left an account of what took place.
Admiral d'Almeida came here with 14 men of war and 6 caravels. He ordered the ships to have their artillery ready. At dawn on Thursday the 24th of July, all went into their boats to the shore. They went straight to the palace, and only those inhabitants who did not resist were granted their lives. At the palace, the Holy Cross was put down, and Admiral d'Almeida prayed. Then, everyone started to plunder the town of all its merchandise and provisions.
The sack of Kilva by the Portuguese in 1505 marked a turning point in the history of the whole East African coast. For the Portuguese, and after them the Dutch, the English, the French, seized the Indian Ocean trade and turned it to their own benefit. The old Swahili cities of coral stone, which had depended on that trade and now lost it, fell into decay. Indeed, Africa had now to suffer a long period of destructive conflict and confrontation begun by the outside world, and this would continue until these old splendors of the African past were all but forgotten.